Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're going to be looking at 5 great Fantastic Four comics. If, like me, you've enjoyed the recent trailer for the new upcoming 2025 Fantastic Four movie, you might be thinking, what kind of Fantastic Four comics should I be reading? What are maybe some fun stories that I haven't heard about yet? Or perhaps just generally, give me more Fantastic Four. Well, to that end, I've went ahead and prepared this brief list video, and I can't wait to get started. Before we do, though, I would just like to shout out the channel sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I highly encourage you to check out their website. You can find a link for it in this video's description, and if you see anything there you like, you can use my discount code at checkout, TheComicBookReport, to save $2 off of your order. Please note, if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's a fantastic way to support the channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with Fantastic Four. First up on our list today, Fantastic Four by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Now this is the Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1, and this is quite a bit of an older printing. In fact, this, along with the Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1, I believe were my first omnibus editions, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a book I have read through. I did review it on the channel, but it includes the first couple dozen issues of Fantastic Four. These omnibus editions, I think, have give or take 40 issues, but yeah, really great right out of the gate. In fact, along with Amazing Spider-Man, it is one of my favorite Silver Age Marvel Comics titles. So if you're looking to get into Fantastic Four and you want to go all the way back to the beginning, have to recommend it, of course. The Dream Team collaboration between Stan Lee and Jack Kirby is exceptional, and for me it's actually really fun to see Kirby's art of the Fantastic Four evolve over time. You can get their entire run across the first 4 volumes of this omnibus line, although currently I don't believe this volume 1 is still in print. You can find some of these stories around in different collections. I know they've made epic collections over the years, I think Mighty Marvel Masterworks, or you can of course find it digitally. Again, these comics might not be for everyone because they are a bit older, coming out, decades and decades ago, but I still think they hold up quite awesomely. One of the things I enjoy is that each issue is just about episodic in nature, which means you have one and done kinds of adventures. And in this collection, we not only have the origins of this fantastic family team of heroes, but so many of the villains have their first appearance in this omnibus. Dr. Doom, Mole Man, and more. Reading these comics with today's lenses, it's really, in some ways, quaint, but I say that in no way that undervalues what we have here. It is rich as gold, and I absolutely adore it. You feel like you're going through a time capsule in many ways. I love to see their depictions of contemporary American culture and society at the time. I like to see the sort of dysfunctional family or team dynamic that really set Fantastic Four apart at the time. This was really the kick-starting of the modern Marvel Universe, or really the Marvel Universe in general we're familiar with, and it's really spectacular from moment one. It comes out so very strong. So many heroes and villains got their start in the pages of Fantastic Four, it's almost mind-boggling. And again, if you want to go back to the very beginning, if you want to see the origins of this fantastic team, you have to read early Fantastic Four, and my preference to do that is hunting down a copy of Fantastic Four Omnibus Volume 1 from Marvel Comics. Next on the list is perhaps a polarizing entry in the history of the Fantastic Four. This is Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4 by Grant Morrison and Jae Lee. Now this was published during the Marvel Knights era, and this has since been collected in a couple different editions. There was a hardcover at one point, but I've had this old trade paperback forever, and it's one of my favorite kind of standalone Fantastic Four stories. In fact, it was one of the earliest comics I ever reviewed on this very channel. I think it might have been within my first 5 comic book reviews, if I'm not mistaken. I'll try to link to that video, but again, go easy on me. It was one of my earliest outings on this channel. But Fantastic Four 1, 2, 3, 4, like so much of Morrison's bibliography, is a really cerebral, kind of mind-bending sort of storyline that has our Fantastic Foursome really pushed to their limits in different ways. There's kind of this weird surreality to it as well. It can be hard to know at times what is going on. on at any given moment, but I do think Morrison resolves the story by the end just spectacularly. It left such an impression on me. You pair that with the gorgeous art of Jae Lee, one of my favorite comic book artists ever since I read him in the pages of the Gunslinger comics over at Marvel, the Dark Tower adaptations. I've just been a really big fan of Jae Lee. I know I've seen his artwork too in Batman Superman Crossworld. I saw his artwork in the Superman American Alien collection and so many more. But yeah, I just love the art style in this collection. I really enjoyed what Morrison brought to the table for Fantastic Four. I know some people don't like the depictions we get of some of the characters, especially Sue in this. I think because of what's going on between Sue and Namor, which I understand, but I've always loved Namor the Submariner, and I thought this story was just riveting. I felt like they really did unusual things here. This is again during the Marvel Knights era at Marvel Comics, which was a little more adult oriented, a little more gritty, a little more explicit, or just stuff like that. But yeah, I think this story really does hold up. Again, not everyone loves it, but I'm definitely easily on the side of I adore this book. I've reread it a handful of times over the years, and now that I'm looking at it, it kind of makes me want to read it again. It's not an overlong miniseries either. I'm not sure that it's still in print, but you should still be able to find it around here and there. Again, for Morrison fans as well, if you enjoyed Morrison's work on Batman or Doom Patrol or just Final Crisis, so many incredible Morrison works, definitely consider this one. Again, one of my favorite standalone Fantastic Four works, and that art by Jae Lee, it just can't be beat. Absolutely gorgeous work here, and one I consider to be a great Fantastic Four comic. And hey, if you're enjoying this video and you've yet to subscribe to the channel, I would just like to invite you to do so. I'm always doing comic book list videos like this, reviews, unboxings, shorts, and much more. Thank you for considering. Now on with today's list. Next on today's list, Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross. This was released by Abrams Books, Abrams Comic Arts, and it's a stunning collection. They actually, at the time of this recording, also released a Fantastic Four Full Circle Expanded Edition, which I believe is even larger and contains an amazing amount of extras. I, however, still have this hardcover edition, which is still an oversized hardcover compared to single issues or standard size trade paperbacks. Anyway, this is another collection I reviewed right here on the channel, and this is a beautiful work of art. In some ways, it is also a sequel to the old 60s Fantastic Four issue, This Man, This Monster by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, though if you haven't read that, you can still enjoy Fantastic Four Full Circle in full. In fact, I didn't read that story until after I read Full Circle, and I was totally fine. However, if you have an opportunity to pick up that issue in some form or read it, it would be kind of fun to read that and then read Full Circle if I had to pick a reading order. But what this story gives us is a really quick little adventure for our fantastic team. We have them traveling into the negative zone after weird happenings occur in the Baxter Building home of this family. As they make their way into the negative zone, we have encounters with Annihilus and so many other forces, but one of the things that really stands out about Full Circle is just the way that Alex Ross kind of adapts his style to pay homage to the great Jack Kirby. I've been a fan of Alex Ross's kind of painted, realistic looking art style, I believe ever since I read Kingdom Come from him and Mark Waid, but I've seen his covers throughout the years, I've seen different projects Alex Ross has been attached to, and when I heard he was creating, not only as an illustrator but as a writer, a Fantastic Four story collection, I just had to pick it up, and wow, is this a really fun book. I said story collection, I mean just single story. But at any rate, it was a real blast. And if you're a fan of Silver Age Fantastic Four in particular, this is really a treat that you're going to want to check out. If you have a hard time going into that era of comics, but you still want to see something that beautifully pays tribute to that, I do believe Full Circle might still be worth picking up. In fact, why I included it on my great Fantastic Four comics list is because I understand some people don't want a huge level of investment trying to track down an out-of-print omnibus, or perhaps they don't want to get involved in a long, epically scoped, super long comic book run. They would just like to experience kind of what makes Fantastic Four great and charming without too much of an investment. I think that this is a really good project in which to do that. Like I said, it doesn't overstay its welcome. I think you can comfortably read this within one sitting, and it's just a beautiful artwork to behold. If you're a fan of the comic book medium, this is a great place to pick up and just enjoy kind of a standalone Fantastic Four story. Don't miss out on Fantastic Four Full Circle. Now, if you do want a fuller Fantastic Four comic run, I'm going to go ahead and recommend Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman, my personal favorite comic book Fantastic Four run to date. This is the Volume 1 Omnibus of a 2-volume omnibus set. This went into print a year or two ago, and I'm so happy I finally had an opportunity to swipe these books. I believe at the time of this recording, you can still find them here or there, but what I love about Hickman's Fantastic Four is that it's just an epically scoped science fiction thrill ride. This is such a massive undertaking, and I cannot believe what Hickman and team were able to accomplish across these 2 volumes. We not only have multiversal travel, crazy alien technologies, and a lot of great family and vigilante superheroic drama, we also just have some great, just smaller scale character stories in the midst of a larger overarching narrative. It's almost just overwhelming to talk about and distill exactly what I love about this run. But here we go. I think Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman is a great comic because it's a perfect modern comic book run to engage and first encounter this family. Do we have kind of more rich character or familial dynamics in other runs? Perhaps you can make that argument, certainly, but I don't think there's a Fantastic Four run that has blended so well with the genre of science fiction. That, I think, is really at the forefront of Hickman's Fantastic Four run. Also, just again, that overarching master narrative that unfolds not only in this run, but continues on through Avengers by Jonathan Hickman and into the Marvel Secret Wars, also penned by Jonathan Hickman. This is one of my favorite modern eras for Marvel. If you like Marvel books too that are borderline cosmic Marvel, but are still based largely in New York with the superhero team, this is also one I would squarely point you at. We have so many different artists attached to this book, and nearly all of them I would consider heavy hitters in the comic book industry. This is really a brilliant, shining gem within modern Marvel history, and again, it's just one of my personal favorite examples of the Fantastic Four. In fact, I've shared it anecdotally on this channel before, but this run actually rejuvenated, reinvigorated, kickstarted my love for Fantastic Four all over again. After reading this run, I went around and read as many of these different runs as I could find, like Matt Fractions and the Miller and Brian Hitch stuff. I've gone back and read some of John Byrne and more of the Stan Lee Jack Kirby run, and again, just anything I could find. And it all really began picking up this book and just falling in love with this team, with this family, with this franchise all over again. If you're looking for a great place to start Fantastic Four and you want to buckle up for a longer scale, bigger storytelling kind of epic, definitely check out Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. Okay, and to round out today's list, I thought I'd throw a bit of a curveball for probably many of you. I'm going to recommend Fantastic Four, The Fate of the Four. And this was written by Chip Zdarsky, who admittedly is one of my favorite comic book writers in the industry currently. I love what he did with Spider-Man. I've enjoyed some of his Batman run. I love the Daredevil run. But he actually spent some time with some of Marvel's first family. Now, this is not a Fantastic Four title proper, in spite of what the title of the volume would have you believe. It actually collects his run on Marvel 2-in-1, which was kind of focused on The Thing and the Human Torch, Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm. Without going into too many spoilers here, this does happen in the wake of Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, so if you enjoyed that Marvel event book, this happens kind of afterward at some point, and we basically have The Thing and the Human Torch going it sort of alone, without the other members of the Fantastic Four. And what The Fate of the Four really concerns itself with is trying to find the remaining members of this team. The Fate of the Four really feels like a buddy comic in many ways. I think things like Cable and Deadpool, or Deadpool and Cable, if you ever read that series, where the real kind of character-driven core of it is sort of these friends that are just going on this massive journey together. We have some gorgeous art throughout this collection, and I would also consider this fairly self-contained as far as the story goes. Yes, it does occur after Marvel's Secret Wars, and it does happen before the Dan Slott era for Fantastic Four, but I think it's a really great bridge between those two pieces while also functioning just completely great by itself as a fun adventure with the Thing and Human Torch. If you do plan on reading Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars though, I heavily recommend you read that before picking up The Fate of the Four, just because there will be some minor spoilers as that sets the stage for what's going on with the Thing and Human Torch in this era of Marvel. But again, outside of that, you can really just enjoy this story. This is one that I think a lot of people don't talk about, and I'm not really sure why, because it's an amazing Fantastic Four story, and even though we don't have as much of Reed and Sue within the pages, their presence is still very felt, and there are a couple of appearances, maybe or maybe not, you'll have to read, but I do think that this is a fun and gripping Fantastic Four story that really cuts to the heart of this incredible foursome and their family dynamics. I really do love it. I did a full review on this title some time ago on my channel that you can probably check out, but I'm passionate about it to this day, and I wanted to recommend another fairly modern read on my recommendations list, and I tried to rack my brain thinking about what is a Fantastic Four title that I think maybe not everyone has given a shot, that is maybe underserved, and I thought that this would fit the bill. Fantastic Four, Fate of the Four, don't miss it. Okay, and with that, we've wrapped up my listing for 5 great Fantastic Four comics. Honestly, I could have kept this list going on and on and on, but I was looking for a bit of a tighter list today, just giving a couple of fun Fantastic Four recommendations. I tried to go for diversity in this list, kind of mixing up different Fantastic Four eras, size of books, why I'm recommending them, and why I think they're good. But I hope you've enjoyed this list. Obviously, there are some really, really big and amazing Fantastic Four stories you can read during the Mark Waid, Mike Wieringo era, or during the John Byrne era, or so many more. Dan Slott, I've heard many good things about the North run that came out or is ongoing fairly recently. But yeah, this is my little list for today. I would love to hear in the comments though, have you read any of my picks, or what would be on your favorite Fantastic Four list? Would love to get some recommendations going. And are you eager for the 2025 MCU Fantastic Four film, or is it just me? Let's give some love. Let me hear all about it in the comments section, and thank you so much for watching. It always means a lot. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, comment, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.